Hello and good evening and welcome to News 360. It's live from our news hub here at Adesawe in Kanda. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Fort. Let's take a look at the headlines for the next 1 hour. BDCs and OMCs challenge BOST over claims that Ghana loses $2 billion annually due to dumping of petroleum products scheduled for export to the Sahelian region.
And also residents of 7 communities in Akonsombo Township protest over high electricity tariffs. Bring you details of that tonight.
Also in the bulletin, hoarding and overpricing of Premix Fuel is now punishable by imprisonment and fines. That's under the new Premix Fuel regulation. And also in business, this evening, oil and gas production at Jubilee Fields to be suspended for 12 weeks in the last quarter of the year. And on the foreign front, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni warns the country's security agencies against use of torture to extract information from suspected criminals. We have the details of these stories, including the very latest from the world of entertainment and sports in the next hour. Stay with us. You're watching News 360, and our first story this evening. BDCs and OMCs have challenged BOST over claims that the country lost $2 billion due to the dumping of petroleum products scheduled for exports to the Sahelian region into the country. This follows a directive from Cabinet to the bulk oil storage and transportation company, BOST, to take over the exportation of petroleum products to the region to reverse the trend.
Oil marketing companies and bulk oil distribution companies earlier challenged government to stop the illegal sale of petroleum products in the country. They lamented 4,000 workers in the petroleum sector could lose their jobs if they failed to address the issue. But the chief executive of the bulk oil storage and transportation company, Alfred Obimboating, says some OMCs and BDCs are to blame for their woes.
Some of the OMCs, they are involved in these activities. These products that are meant for export, they sell them at some filling station.
The BDCs and OMCs are demanding BOST comes clear on the 2 billion cedi losses it claims Ghana records annually due to the illegal activity.
BDCs are the ones who suffer the most from export dumping, because we don't then get anybody to sell to. It is wrong for you to just get out there and try to accuse a whole industry unfairly.
Cabinet, as part of plans to reverse the trend, has directed BOST to take over the exportation of petroleum products to the Sahelian region. But oil marketing companies say the decision would not completely solve the problem.
That is one part of the policy that would help. There are other things that we can put in place, like tracking of the BRVs, which means that it should be mandatory for every truck that is going to haul products that are for export to be made to put in place tracking devices.
Let's start a bit further with this, because the Chief Executive Officer of the Bulk Oil Storage and Transport, that's BOST, Alfred Obimboating, has denied awarding a new contract to a private company to licensed tanker owners who left petroleum products. He insisted the process had not changed and is still transparent.
The Chief Executive Officer was reacting to an allegation by the Tanker Owners Association that BOST has contracted a private company to give out license which was alien to them.
The accusation is wrong. We have received over 550 applications for haulage, and we cannot give all of them contract at the same time. So what we are doing is that we want some to operate for second quarter. First quarter was done by my predecessor.
He said BOST only introduced new methods to monitor operations of bulk road vehicles.
Now we are doing rotation because we have quite enough. No company is bringing more than 5 tankers at a go. It's minimum 1, maximum 5.
On Monday, the Tanker Owners Association threatened to ground their 3,500 bulk road vehicles if their grievances were not addressed. The association accused BOST of unilaterally abrogating the existing process of the haulage of petroleum products by the tanker owners who are certified by the National Petroleum Authority, NPA.
Hoarding and overpricing of premix fuel are now considered serious offences punishable by imprisonment and fines. That's under the new Premix Fuel regulation. The National Premix Fuel Committee has warned fisherfolk managing the distribution of premix fuel to use the product judiciously in adherence to the new regulations.
The National Premix Committee, NPC, was established by the government in July 2009 to oversee the administration and distribution of premix fuel, a highly subsidized petroleum product. Land and Beach Committees, LBCs, were formed to empower fishermen to run premix fuel stations at the landing beaches and the proceeds used in developing fishing communities. Achieving this aim has, however, been thwarted and abused by middlemen who engage in the diversion and hoarding of the product and selling it at exorbitant prices to fishermen.
These were issues that were affecting the fishing industry. We need to ensure that the fuel that has been allocated to the various landing beaches get there, so that the oil marketing companies will not have the leeway of diverting in connivance with the drivers and in connivance with the LBCs, the landing beach committees.
Members of the various landing beaches committees, comprising canoe owners, chief fishermen and fishmongers, have been sensitized on their core functions and mandate as per the new LI. They were also updated on tracking and monitoring petroleum products.
Laws are there. Anybody who flouts the law will be dealt with in accordance with the law. Ensure that the fisher folks get what they need to get for their personal development and for the development of this nation.
53% of proceeds from Premix Fuel is allocated to communities for developmental projects.
Now, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, CLOCSAC, has rejected the apology by the Finance Minister and have asked him to rather apologize to the President. The association, which wants members' names back onto the payroll, is of the view the Finance Minister should have rather conducted proper investigations into the payroll fraud before the deletion of the names.
CLOCSAC said the apology by the Finance Minister was misplaced, but rather should have been directed to the President, Nana Akufo-Addo. It stated that the President was misinformed on May Day of about 26,000 ghost names on government payroll, whose deletion had saved government over 400 million cedis.
The apology, I think, you should address to the President. The President was given certain information that he came on air to make certain pronouncements on May Day. So, if any apology, I think first and foremost must go to the President.
The association insists the Finance Ministry comes out with the amount spent on previous cleaning of the payroll and why the exercise should be awarded on contract instead of engaging personnel in the civil service.
Then people should be prosecuted because those names have been verified and validated. Hold them responsible. That's what you should do. If they've done what is wrong, then they have to be fired. But you are not doing that, and then you are just saying that they are ghosts. Who are those who validated those names? We want to know. There is nothing to the best of our knowledge. It's a scam.
Isaac Bampoado urged the Finance Ministry to stick to its mandate and reinstate his name within the next 2 weeks.
As of now, still, I have not received any salary.
Meanwhile, President of the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, CCT, Kinali, is asking the Controller Accountant General's Department to supply data on those who have been paid out of the 26,000 names.
Out of the 13,000 plus, how many of them are involved in those that were paid yesterday? And how many are still outstanding? And those that are outstanding, is it now confirmed that they are ghosts?
Although the association agrees on the existence of ghost names on the government's payroll, it is of the view those names deleted were not part.
Sometimes it baffles our mind how some of such people still continues remains on the payroll. So yes, There could be ghosts on the payroll. But what we are saying is that, for now, the majority of the people that they are saying are ghosts are not.
In other stories, projects coordinator of the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Water and Sanitation Project, Engineer George Asiedu, has dismissed assertions that the project has failed. He stressed the new World Bank rating of the project for May 2017 rated it as being moderately satisfactory, adding that they're making steady progress.
The Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Gamma Water and Sanitation Project is a $150 million World Bank funded project which took off in August 2014 and is expected to end in 2018. It is to help address open defecation and other sanitation concerns with the objective to increase access to improved sanitation and improved water supply in the Gamma, with emphasis on low-income communities. Reports suggest no significant progress has been made, as the component that is to provide households with sanitary facilities at half the price has been able to construct only 900 out of the projected 12,500. Some 260 schools were also to benefit from lavatories, but these projects at various levels at completion have stalled.
Really, the project is on course, because once you have not finished a project, you cannot say it has failed. Just in May, the World Bank has come out with their rating, and they have upgraded the project from moderate unsatisfactory to moderately satisfactory. How can you call such a project failure?
Engineer George Asiedu hinted of talks with the World Bank to ensure a further reduction of the facility.
We are thinking of getting more support for the beneficiaries, knowing that even the 50%, some of them find difficult to beat. But whichever way, the beneficiary will still have to pay some amount. We are even thinking of raising it to about 70%.
The project coordinator admitted the school's component stalled due to the World Bank environmental and safety safeguard standards, which have now been met.
Hygiene, the women, when they are in their menses, the place to change. And so this is conforming to Ghana education standard. We've gone past the stage now. We have approval to continue, and we are hoping that within the next 4 or 5 months, almost all the school toilets would have been completed, and the school children will have access to improved toilets.
The World Bank has agreed in principle to extend the project duration by some 18 months to ensure targets are met.
The Ghana National Poultry Farmers Association has allayed fears of infected poultry on the market. Chairman of the association, Victor Pongeje, is saying that members are rather concerned with compensation for the culled birds.
In 2015, over 100,000 birds were reported to have contracted the deadly avian influenza, also known as bird flu, in Ghana. Affected farmers were asked to cull their birds to avoid further spread of the disease. Parliament approved 11 million Ghana cedis to compensate affected farmers, but media reports on Monday, May 15, suggested some farmers who had not received their compensations have threatened not to report any future outbreaks but rush affected birds to the market. The reports have heightened consumer fear due to the dire health consequences of avian flu in the food chain. A 1997 report by the World Health Organization indicated avian flu killed nearly 60% of humans discovered with the disease. The national chairman of the Poultry Farmers Association, Victor Opoeje, said though some of the farmers have not received their compensation, no sick bird has been released for sale on the market.
We shouldn't be giving threats. This is a matter of negotiation. As I speak with you now, there are no affected bird flu in the country.
He said the association is in talks with the government to settle all outstanding issues.
The first payment was about 1,141,216 Ghana cedis. So the total will be about 3 million so far if this one is paid. At the moment, 35 farmers are not yet paid.
In other stories this evening, the World Health Organization, WHO, has declared an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The latest outbreak comes a year after the end of an epidemic in Guinea, Sierra Leone and Liberia, which killed more than 11,300 people. Is Ghana at risk, and how prepared is the country? Here's a News Desk report.
In March 2014, some West African countries experienced the largest outbreak of Ebola in history. In response, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, a national public health institute of the United States, activated its Emergency Operations Center to coordinate technical assistance and control. CDC also deployed teams of public health experts to the affected countries. Here in Ghana, government committed 7 million cedis in preparation towards the fight against the epidemic. An interministerial coordinating committee was formed. Training and outreach programs were rolled out in preparation to fight the epidemic. Just a year after the end of the epidemic in Guinea, Sierra Leone and Liberia, which killed more than 11,300 people, there is another outbreak. This calls for the strengthening of systems to ensure the safety of citizens.
Now, let's stay on this issue a little further. As you saw in the report there, the worst cases were actually reported in 2014 in West African countries. So let's take a look at the year between the years 2014 to 2016, when the Ebola outbreak was said to have taken place. In Guinea, there were 3,811 cases, while 2,543 were confirmed dead. In Liberia, 10,675 cases with 4,809 deaths, and in Mali, a lot less, 8 cases with 6 deaths. Also in Nigeria, 20 cases with 8 deaths, and in Senegal, 1 case with no death recorded. In Sierra Leone, there were 14,124 cases with 3,956 deaths. Now, it's clear from what you see on your screens there that Ghana has been exempt and hasn't particularly been a country recorded as an Ebola outbreak country. However, it's the recent Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the worst, one of the worst strains, known as the Zaire strain, which is actually the most dangerous of the viruses known to cause the disease, and is particularly worrying. And so basically, Alfred, you're joined in studio to further discuss that issue.
Absolutely, Natalie. And that's one of the reasons we're going to stay a bit further with this. But I've been joined in the studio by the National Chairman of the Coalition of NGOs in Health in this country, Dr. Gabriel Benako. Good to have you. Good evening to you. Now, if you monitor the new case, if it sort of follows the same and in the previous case where there was a remote part of Guinea that recorded the first case and then it spread to other parts of the country and then the continent. This time around is another remote area in the DRC. Should we be worried at this point that this is happening again, considering the kind of damage that Ebola caused 2 years ago?
Yeah, thank you, and thanks so much for giving us the opportunity to share national response issues, especially in the health sector. And greetings to all my regional chairpersons in all the 10 regions.
Right.
Now, similarly, if you look at almost all the outbreaks, it always happens in the area where the health systems are not well strengthened. And so this is a cause to be worried, more especially when Ghana is vulnerable in this regard. What we are looking for... We talk about
Ghana being vulnerable. What kind of vulnerability are we talking about, and to what extent should it be a worry that we're vulnerable?
Let me be very sincere and honest. God forbid, if we had gotten Ebola in Ghana, there would have been serious disaster because our health systems are not well strengthened, because the political will is not forthcoming when it comes to... There are 3 things when we talk about emergency response. Political will, technical support, and civil society intervention. Okay. If you look at all the countries all over the world where emergency has been curtailed or has been brought down, there has always been the role critically played by civil society by going down to the communities identifying, empowering communities, asking them to demand and increase demand for services and manage cases, rather than to focus on the technical people who are more clinical. So these are the reality that Ghana be dealt with. I remember last year we tried to do emergency response on Ebola in Ghana. The reason was that if you look at Ghana and the other countries surrounding us, we tend to do business with them.
Absolutely.
And so
and the porous nature of our borders also.
Every day. I talked to somebody today. In 2 hours, the person is in Ghana. So what happened? He's in Accra. In 3 days now, he will be in the north. So that is how it is. Assuming this person is affected, within the incubation period, he could infect other people in this regard. And so, one, Ghana is vulnerable because we have the emergency response plan, but we have not executed to the letter.
But to the extent that scientists are in the last stage of developing a vaccine for this particular strain, the Zaire strain, even though the UN set up coordination centers here, you still think that hasn't reduced our vulnerability rate? And,
no.
And what should be done?
The government of Ghana, for that matter, Ministry of Health, needs to take seriously the advice from the WHO. The World Health Organization has experience in other countries where situation has been worse, and they, from that worsening situation, they have been able to help those countries to come out from the worst case, and therefore they have the technical capacity, they have the technical support to be able to support Ghana. At this point in time, Ministry of Health should be seeking technical support from World Health Organization to be able to strengthen our health system to be well prepared, and they must involve all stakeholders in this regard.
There's a national chairman of the Coalition of NGOs in Health, Dr. Gabriel Benako. Thank you for making time to join us. And they show you know about 9 or so cases have been recorded in the Democratic Republic of Congo. There's a new Ebola outbreak in that part of the country, the remote part of the DRC, and 3 people have been confirmed dead already. And that's why this is issue of concern. But away from that, residents of 7 communities in the Konsombo Township have protested over the high electricity tariffs, blaming it on new meters introduced 3 years ago. Sipping with anger, they demanded the withdrawal of the new meters, or it should be given a flat rate.
Hundreds of residents from Makonsombo and adjoining communities, including Pupuni, Atimpoku, and Mangwasi, besieged the Technical Services Department of the VRA to express their frustration after an hour-long protest. They contended electricity bills were unbearable ever since the old meters were replaced.
They have brought huge meters which read 1,500 to 2,000 cedis even when you are not home. They should give us a discount or flat rate or we won't pay.
Even when the lights are off, the meters will be reading. As for me, I won't pay.
Started from 2014, and you see, we've taken a whole lot of steps, writing letter petitions to Chief Executive of VRA, to the PRC, to the Power Minister, all over. But actually, it has not materialized. So today, we decided to embark on a demonstration.
The head of corporate communications of the VRA, Gertrude Kumsen, explained the new meters were introduced to replace the old ones which were malfunctioning.
From our technical department, we were having very old meters, and they were not even reading anything. If we give you a comparison of the 2 bills that they used to have and what they have now, you realize that the old bill wasn't functioning well at all.
They said they were awaiting a response from officials from the PURC who had visited the communities to check on the calibrations of the meters and promised to meet the leadership of the communities after management had been consulted.
We have promised to go back and then engage PURC, and then we come back, and if there's a need to do the calibration, we do it. But to remove the, billing of electricity supplied, I don't think it's something that we would do.
Still watching News 360. Let's now take a look at how the weather will be faring this evening through till tomorrow.
It's News 360. Thanks for staying with us. Time for business. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa. Starting with tonight, Ghana will suspend oil and gas production at the Jubilee fields for 12 weeks in the last quarter of the year. Speaking at the National Policy Summit, Energy Minister Boakye Jakon said this is to allow for repair works on the faulty turrets of the FPSO Kwame
100,000 barrel crude production from the Jubilee fields have not been consistent since February 2016, following a fault to the turret bearing of the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah. Energy Minister Boakye Jakon says the Jubilee partners have decided to shut down the FPSO to allow for repair works.
To correct the turret problem, it is expected that for a period of 12 weeks, in last quarter of the year, the FPSO will be out of action, and it will therefore limit our ability to export oil and gas, both on the revenue side for our budget and also on the power generation side for the Abuazi Thermal Enclave.
He revealed Ghana will start producing crude from the ENI fields in August.
The subsea infrastructure is being hooked up to the FPSO, and we are of the expectation that latest by August, we will have first flow of oil from the ENI fields, and in March the following year, we'll have first gas as well.
Boakye Jakon expressed worry 21% of power supplied to the ECG goes waste.
Every percentage point of power lost is the equivalent of 60 million cedis. I am not saying that ECG should not lose any power at all, but to lose 21% of what you are given to sell, by definition, ipso facto makes you unprofitable.
The minister called on the Public Utility Regulatory Commission, PURC, to institute more transparent measures in calculating electricity tariffs.
What I'm looking for is for PURC to be able to put on their website an interactive use calculator, so that I can go to the PURC website and say that I've consumed 300 kilovolts of power, put that number in, and it should tell me how much I owe.
Now let's look at issues on banking now. As the Universal Merchants Bank has opened its second business and PPP incubation center at Medina in Accra, the center will offer business advisory services to small and medium-sized enterprises. It will also offer support for the One District, One Factory project.
Christened UNB Center for Businesses, the center is expected to set a new standard in the delivery of SME banking services and enhance the competitiveness of UNB in the SME sector. Speaking at the inauguration of the center, the Chief Executive Officer of UNB Bank, John Ewua, recounted the bank's long and proud history of developing businesses in Ghana.
UNB's reputation and history as a business-friendly bank cannot be denied, and we have led the way in helping a lot of businesses in this country. The UNB Center for Business has a unique credit appraisal and operational model that is completely outside of our normal banking operations. This is done to ensure that the services we provide are fast and tailored to the specific needs of our customers.
He stated that the bank is poised to restore its leadership position as the most prominent financial partner for businesses in Ghana. John Ewa said the UMB Center for Businesses is not just a UMB branch, but the cradle for developing all categories of businesses and entrepreneurs.
We will also be inaugurating the UMB PPP Incubator Center today. This center will primarily focus on partnering with both government and private businesses to manage our commitment to the government's One District, One Factory propositional initiative.
UMB board chairperson Elizabeth Zomelo added that UMB has contributed to most big companies in the country. She pledged the commitment of UMB to even do more.
For over 4 decades, UMB has been at the forefront of the journey to transform the economy of Ghana with a focus on developing businesses into strong and vibrant enterprises. Played a key advisory role in the merger of then Ashanti Goldfields and Anglo Gold.
Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry Robert Ahomka-Lindsay indicated that for the economy to develop, government must work together with the private sector.
If we are to achieve our ambitions of growth for this country and the growth of jobs, we have to partner with the private sector. And one of the key partners in the private sector is the financial institutions.
Universal Merchant Bank has branches nationwide.
Now on to one developing story. The Director of Public Utilities, that is the Public Relations Officer for the Public Utility Regulatory Commission, the PURC, Nanaya Jantua, has resigned following recent allegations of financial misappropriation by the leadership of the utilities regulator. Her resignation comes a day after she and the Executive Secretary of the PURC, Samuel Sapong, were invited by the Bureau of National Investigations, BNI, for interrogations into the allegations. Both management members were detained with reports rife that their passports were seized to prevent them from traveling out of the country. Her letter of resignation, which was addressed to the Executive Director of the PURC, Samuel Sapon, indicated that her resignation would take effect from November 2017. Now, it is said in part of the statement that she would resign from the Commission effective November 11, 2017. Prior to her resignation, she wishes to take all her outstanding leave, which has accrued as staff of the Commission starting from June 4, 2017. Right, so quickly, let's take a look at the currencies and then look at how it is faring there on the markets. Looking at the trend from yesterday till today, once again, the cedi is gradually depreciating against its major trading currency. Talking about the US dollar precisely. Today, it is being bought at 4 Ghana cedis 22 pesos, and it will be sold to you on the interbank market at 4 Ghana cedis 22 pesos. You would quite remember that last week we had a trading around 4 Ghana cedis, 19 and 18 Ghana pesos, but the trend has changed, seeing some 0.2 percentage point change there in terms of depreciation for the cedi to the dollar. For that of the cedi to the Great British Pound, not much change there. 5 Ghana cedis, 45 pesos is what you can buy it for, and it will be sold to you at 5 Ghana cedis, 46 pesos, right there on the interbank market. Remember that these figures definitely change when it comes to the forex, and that of the cedi to the euro at 4 Ghana cedis, 68 pesos, both when it's being bought and sold to you on the interbank market. Well, that will do for the business segment this evening. My name is Nanikia Mensah-Baba. We have more on News 360. Good evening.
In sports news time now, and this man in the background, Kwesi Appiah, would dominate our bulletin for today because he was unveiled officially as the new Black Stars coach. Now, Appiah has signed a 2-year deal that will give him charge of the team for the next 2 years. His first game will be a game against Ethiopia on June 11th. Here is a report by Alfusulabi on that outdooring press conference.
conference. No sponsors backdrop, a Jama group in the background, a bit of chaos, and more seats than journalists and observers. Kwesi Appiah was getting his second introduction, and the attendance was significant enough to convince him that the nation cared.
I believe that you're here because of me, and I really appreciate that. I would like to actually thank all Ghanaians for giving me this opportunity, more especially to the FA, to having confidence in me and giving me opportunity for the second time.
Appiah also used the opportunity to introduce his backroom staff, which, like many other African teams, is becoming a bit like an ex-player's home. The ex-Borussia Dortmund and Black Star striker Ibrahim Tanko will be Appiah's main assistants. Maxwell Konedu will remain assistant too, but with special focus on the local Black Stars. Former captain Stephen Appiah and goalkeeper Richard Kinson have been reunited after more than a decade as teammates. Kinson will be the goalkeeper's trainer, while Appiah will take up a new role as technical coordinator. Kwesi Appiah explains exactly what the duties will be.
Stephen will not just be there and wait that, okay, we're going to come, so he joins us. I want a situation where I can send Stephen, go to Wa, go and look at a match there and give him information on the particular player so that I can follow up later. And looking at his caliber, if he comes and he tells me, well, I've seen a right back who is doing well, automatically, and I want to see that he gets more involved. At the same time, he's one guy, who's been there, who's been in the system, he's played to a highest level, and he knows the mentality of players who can also help, motivate them in a way.
The two Appiahs and the new-look backroom staff will have one objective, and that, to pan on Donald Trump's famous slogan, will be to make the Black Stars great again. Vice President of the FA is clear in his mind what the objectives are.
First is to build a very strong national team, A and B. 2 is to qualify us to the AFCON 2019. 3 is to win us the AFCON 2019. And 4, he should employ his possible best to qualify the Black Stars to the World Cup 2018.
The first game on that journey for Appiah will be on June 11th. It will not provide conclusive evidence on what Appiah's reign will be about, but a great start against Ethiopia won't hurt his reputation either.
So let's just quickly go over the major takeaways from that press conference. Once again, there are a number of things not captured in that report that Appiah is required to do. Now, key amongst them, he says, is that the door is still open for these two gentlemen, Suleiman Tari and Kevin Prince Boateng, on a possible return to the Black Stars, both on indefinite suspension from the national team at the moment. Appiah also insists that Asamoah Gyan remains his captain and that there is no reason to change the outlook of the team at the moment. The other takeaway from it is the target is being given: A, win the Nations Cup in 2019 and do his possible best to qualify for the 2018 World Cup. Big task, because in the 2018 World Cup, Ghana is 5 points behind Egypt. And then Appiah, new keen time for ex-players, 3 ex-internationals, Kinson, Stephen Appiah and Ibrahim Tanko, all part of a new look backroom staff. And after that press conference, Appiah told us there is no need to alter